Welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. When you're ready to transform your sales for today's transforming market, we've got you covered with your host, the queen of cold calling and founder of Salesology, award-winning author, speaker, sales trainer, and coach, Wendy Weiss.
Hi, welcome to Salesology, conversations with sales leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. And I'm your host, Wendy Weiss. I am the founder of Salesology and creator of the Salesology prospecting method. And I'm also known as the queen of cold calling. Well, today, my very, very special guest is Ivana Taylor, who is the publisher of DIYmarketers.com, where small business owners get low-cost tools, tips, and strategies to do marketing on about $17 a day. And full disclosure, Ivana is one of my very best friends and my go-to resource on any kind of marketing. So Ivana's popular Bizapalooza chat, weekly Twitter chat, teaches about 2 million small business owners each week. And she's been a contributor to Amex Open Forum and has appeared on MSNBC. So welcome, my good friend Ivana.
Thank you, Wendy. You know, what you neglected to say is that Wendy and I are in the Mutual Admiration Society.
We are. We're founding members.
Wendy inspires quite a few of my thoughts, which some we'll be talking about that today.
That's good. But let's begin at the beginning. Tell us the backstory. How did you become a marketing maven? How did you become the publisher of DIYmarketers.com?
Gotcha. Well, like most entrepreneurial stories, it started out with an intention and a purpose and then immediately went sideways. Right. So I started, I was the worldwide director of marketing for a division of Monsanto. I left corporate America and I really started doing consulting like a lot of people. And I work primarily with manufacturers. And this, my friends, is where the low cost comes from, because in my experience of working in the B2B space, specifically the manufacturing space, is that management gets super excited about spending hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on equipment and machines to make widgets, not so excited about investing money in getting and keeping customers. And it makes sense, right? Because if you buy a machine, it puts out, hundreds or thousands of widget a minute. You can't say that for the marketing aspect of business. And so I learned very early on to do marketing on a budget. And it also does not hurt that I live my life. I by no means am I cheap. That is not it. But there's nothing I love more than getting a good deal like all of you people. I love it when I have beautiful things. Everyone deserves beautiful things on a budget. So I started consulting and I started messing around with the internet, and that's going to be relevant to our topic today. Started messing around with the internet and discovered that I could literally chop off a zero off of marketing cost, often multiple zeros off of marketing costs by using some amazing tools. And people were always coming to me asking me, how did you do this? And how did you do this? And when I told them that I did it for virtually free, either free or virtually free, just to help you guys out, when I look at something, if it's less than $50, I will consider it. But anything over $50, it better sing and dance, and serve me coffee on Sundays. So, that's sort of how DIY marketers started. I started sharing these tools, tips, and ideas. But as we all know, now there's a million tools and a million things, and it's really, really hard to choose. And so now the site is evolved into a type of a magazine where I really do share the low-cost tools, tips, and strategies. And I don't know. I guess that's about it. I also offer some online courses. I've been on again, off again with that. But yeah, so that's the story. It's a long story. I'm sorry.
That is quite all right. And I have to share with all of our listeners that whenever we want to do something at Salesology, I'll call up Ivana and say, well, this is what we want to do. Like, what should we use?
Right. And
And
what's the first thing I say, right? I say, like, what's your budget? How much do you have to invest in this whole thing? Right. Because we want to make sure that we right size what we're doing. So that is a strength. Wendy knows that. So yeah, that's how we work.
absolutely. So I have heard you say, Ivana, that we should market like it's 1999. So what exactly do you mean by that?
So Wendy's asking me this question, but she's asking me this question because this is a conversation that was actually inspired by Wendy. I know she doesn't think so because she's being humble, but this really was inspired by Wendy. So as I mentioned to all of you guys, marketing, if honestly, I mean, you kind of have to be at a certain age. Maybe a lot of our audience doesn't remember when marketing was expensive, but marketing used to be expensive. If we were doing marketing materials, brochures, sales collateral, all of these things are printed pieces, and every printed piece is cost like $1, could be $10 a piece. Maybe you're doing radio ads, maybe you're doing billboards. Like back in the day, in the days prior to just internet becoming an integral portion of our lives, marketing was indeed expensive. A lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort went into that. But then sort of came the internet, right? Came web 1.0, and suddenly you can put your brochure up on the web and changes were easy. And then came social media, so you could like promote your business, and that was easy. It was all organic. So if it wasn't as expensive. But now, my friends, I'm going to tell you that the cost of a lead, a prospect, I'm not talking about somebody purchasing something from you. I'm not talking about the cost of a customer. I'm talking the cost of a lead right now to get that email is somewhere between $18 and $28 per email. This is how much it's going to cost you, which brings us back to saying marketing is expensive again. So in the same ways that pre-1999, in pre-internet, that we invested incredible amounts of time in research, choosing your ideal customer, making sure you had a great offer. We used to invest incredible amounts of time in that, because when you get to that implementation step of the marketing process, you are now spending some serious cash. You want to make sure that money is being spent in the most appropriate way. And so while things are online, and you can certainly make changes if you make a mistake, you don't have that. But what you do have is, I think we've sort of gotten away from following the marketing process, doing the research, finding our ideal customer and creating an offer that's appealing to them, choosing a strategy that works, and then implementing that in the most efficient way possible. And what I learned, thanks to Wendy had an event, I guess, was that last year or this year? I can't remember
January.
now.
This year.
January, right?
Yeah.
It was the beginning of the year. And where she spent a lot of time talking about being in action, because you see, sales, it's a conversation game. It's like dating. You can't like find someone to marry by sitting in your house the entire time. You literally have to be out there and talking to people and having engagement with people. And when she said that at this Sales Quest Live event, I was like, my goodness, she is absolutely right. And that's not just true for sales. That's absolutely becoming true for marketing. You've got to be having conversations, doing your research, and a lot of manual labor. And that is not a fun message to share with people. Wendy, you as a ballerina knows that you don't just like fly up on stage and suddenly are doing beautiful like pirouettes and things. It would look like what I would look like if I tried to do that. Um, you don't just get up there and play the piano without putting dozens and dozens of hours into practice. And I think that we as marketers have gotten lazy, and we think that we just do go from zero to $1 million in sales and finding ideal customers without doing a lot of manual labor. Those days are over.
Hey, so let's talk about research and talking to people. What does that actually mean? Like, what kind of research? If you think you're selling widgets or you're selling consulting services and you want to put together a great marketing plan, so you need to do some research. What does that consist of?
Well, I think I'm going to say something, and I hope that folks don't get upset or offended with this, but it will explain where I'm coming from. The number one reason that businesses fail, when you look at the research, they use words like capital, no access to capital. So what is capital? Capital is money, right? They don't have enough money. So Wendy, where does money come from inside of a business?
Sales.
Exactly.
Customers, yeah.
Selling to customers, right? You sell them something, they give you money. And so there's that. If you don't have enough customers, that means you're not offering something they want to trade, right? You're not offering something that inspires them to give you money, right? So you don't have a good offer. So research is happening all the time. It is the first step of the process, but it is happening all the time. You need to either be researching your industry and making sure research is about opportunity. Is there opportunity for me? That means, like, what are the alternatives? Are there other competitors? What is the gap? What gap can I fill? Is there opportunity for me? If so, what is that opportunity? Who are the players in this industry? Who are the customers? And then you're going to group those customers into segments, groupings, and then you're going to select an ideal customer, what academically we call a target market. Well, there has to be enough of them. They have to want what you're selling, and they have to be happy to pay that price. All of those things, Wendy, require a lot of research. Now, most businesses do this all backwards, right? They say, I'm selling this widget, so let me research to see who wants to buy this widget, right? And it's like totally backwards. So like, if you're failing at any element of your sales and marketing process, you've got to go back to research, right? Are you addressing a real need? Are you addressing what's missing? Who are the customers who desperately want that and who are willing to pay a price for that, right? Do you have an offer that they want to buy, right? So like, a widget is not what you're selling. A widget is part of what you're selling. It's part of the offer, but there are many, many other things involved in that offer. Everything from customer service to delivering to all the things, all the soft things, the person answering your phone, all the soft things. So when you're doing research, you're looking for opportunity. You've got to find that ideal customer. If you think you know your ideal customer, you better make sure you're doing research inside of those folks to make sure that, are these your people? Right now, this is where I'm saying the biggest fails. The biggest fails are people think that a particular group is their customer, but you can see from the results, maybe their emails aren't being opened. Maybe people are not clicking on the offer. The sales are down. If that's happening consistently over time, something is up. Guess what? You got to go back to doing research. Does that make sense, or is that complicated?
It makes sense, and it's complicated. And so I'm wondering, how do you do this research? Are you emailing? If you have an email list, are you emailing the people on your email list, your customers? Are you picking up the phone and talking to people? Are you mailing out surveys? Like, how are we doing this research?
So as we started this conversation, I said it's market like it's 1999. And what I mean by that is start the hard way first. It's going to be a manual thing. You might want to do some internet searches and come up and create a discussion guide and come up with some questions that you're going to ask maybe some existing customers, that maybe you can ask some potential customers. Maybe you can ask people who are buying from your competitor. You've got to like really take a step back. And I'm talking, it could be a phone call, it could be a Zoom call, but I am talking about do not just spraying an email list with questions. I know that there are some experts who advocate that. Believe me when I tell you that you've got to have a list of like 100,000 people to get a good sample from different slices of customers. You have, there's that. You could also be doing research by simply talking to people, like keeping track of those conversations. You and I have lots of conversations. You're talking to your customers. I want to know what your customers are saying. And I have that same conversation with other clients, other experts, regardless of what their area of expertise is in. I want to hear what people are talking about. And that means taking a step back, and does mean taking it slow. I was just at a conference and I said this, you got to market like it's 1999. And this person said to me, well, I'm selling this course and I had like 40 people clicked on the link, but they didn't buy. And I'm like, well, why would you not just email those 40 people and ask them to schedule a meeting with you and have a conversation with them about what's going on in their business? And he was like, never thought of that. I'm like, that's what you got to do today. Because simply, like, think about it. You're like, oh my God, that's going to take forever. Okay. If you're going to write an email sequence without talking to people, you're going to spend hours creating an email sequence that may or may not work. Why not just like talk to the people, get the voice of the customer, understand what's going on with them so that you can include that in your messaging. Don't even try to sell them. I'm like literally saying, call these people up and say, hey, I noticed you clicked on this thing. You said you were interested in this. You clicked on it. You didn't go through with it. What's going on here? I'm not even trying to sell you. I don't care. I just want to hear what's going on in your world that had you take one step and not this step. That's refreshing, I think.
Absolutely. I love what you're saying, Ivana. We are going to pause for a moment for a word from our sponsor, but then when we come back, I actually want to talk to you because I know you recently had an experience where you did exactly that. And you talked to a whole bunch of people that attended a webinar. And so I want to talk about that when we come back. But now we have a word from our sponsor, the Salesology Vault. Just about every guest that I've interviewed on the Salesology Conversations with Sales Leaders podcast has had a free gift for our listeners. And that actually includes my special guest today, Ivana Taylor. She has a free gift for all of you. And so what we've done is we've taken all of those gifts and we put them all in one place just for you. We call it the Salesology Vault, and it's packed full of free gifts from sales leaders, sales experts, marketing gurus, revenue generation experts. And we add another gift every single week. Every week when we release a podcast, we add a gift. So you can log in as often as you'd like. You can download as many gifts as you'd like. It's all free. So the link to the Salesology Vault is in the show notes. So as soon as you finish listening to this podcast, go to the show notes, click on the link. You'll be glad you did. And I am back with my special guest and good friend, Ivana Taylor, who is the publisher of DIYmarketers.com. And we are talking about doing the research for your marketing. So, Ivana, I know that recently you had an experience. You did a webinar, and then there was some information that you wanted to find out, and you ended up talking to a whole bunch of the people that attended your webinar. So could you share some details about that, what you did and what you learned?
Excellent. I will be happy to do that, Wendy. So, I want to make one thing clear. One My primary marketing strategy is content marketing. What we're doing now is content marketing, both for Wendy and for me. This is all purely educational to help you make choices and choose things, right? And run your business. So my primary strategy is content marketing. As part of content marketing, one of the tactics that you can do is to do webinars. Now, you can do webinars on your own. You can do podcasts. You can do a variety of different things. I, however, because remember how I said these small business lists are worth anywhere from $18 to $28. So I actually set a goal to do webinars with some organizations who had my target customers, who had my target audience as part of that. And that's much, much more difficult than you would imagine. It's easy for me to do my own webinar. It's really hard to sell a national organization to have you speak at their webinar. Well, I succeeded in doing this. It took me, just so we're clear, people, I don't know when, it took at least a year, right? It was might have been the June prior, right? So it wasn't even, I don't know, might have been last June. Then I got on the schedule, they postponed, like all these things. I'm just going to say it took a year to do this.
And I'm also going to add, there was no fee attached to you doing the webinar.
No, none. It was totally free, right? Yeah, right. I'm not making money yet. Anyway, oh my God. So when I knew that I was going to be the presenter for this national organization, I thought to myself, I'm going to get an hour to present. I've heard people say who have presented with them before, which was an introduction, which is like referrals, right? This is like the old gritty, nitty gritty way to do this. I got a referral. I got in, I got on the calendar. I set up my presentation, and I knew that I could get like thousands of emails, not tens of thousands. Like I think I got 3,000-ish emails, right? Do the math.
For your email list, you got 3,000 email addresses for your email list.
Correct. So there were like 5,800 registrants. 3,000 of them had approved to be given to me. So do the math on that one. So I knew this was I'm only digging into this because you got to understand what's happening. I'm like, holy crap, this is like a $60,000 gift to me. And I cannot let this slip through my fingers. And so what I did the webinar, one of the things I did in the webinar is I created this email sequence that basically shared information that didn't make the webinar, that was like on the cutting room floor. And inside of those emails, I invited them to schedule time with me. And I didn't know what to expect, but I did have more than about 30 conversations with small business owners. And I specifically said, I just want to hear your voice. I want to get to know you. Each of these conversations lasted about, the shortest one was about 30, 45 minutes. The longest one went for like 2 hours. And I gave them everything. If they asked me a question, I answered it. If they, advice, tool recommendations, whatever it took, I wanted to know about them and their business so I could have a flavor for what they were dealing with. And so I cannot say that caused me to create an offer. What I realized, the most common thread in this was they literally had no time to do marketing. They were not doing, they were like, I want to do this, but I don't have time. I want to do this, but I don't, how, blah, blah, blah. And so that helped me create an offer that I was then selling. And you guys will experience that offer as my free gift. So you can kind of see and experience one. And then, so now I create these little online working sessions. I do them like once a month. I create little online courses once a month that are very, very specific about doing specific marketing tasks, like create a lead magnet, write an email sequence, like things like that. So yes, it took forever. It really did. I'm not going to lie. But I feel that the work I'm doing is more focused. So my advice really is, again, thanks to you, Wendy, get on the phone, right? Do the research, talk to people, get on the phone, get on a Zoom, go to a conference, like be out there.
And I want to clarify, I think, something that you said because you said it was about a $60,000 gift getting all these email addresses. And the number you're using, because you had said anywhere between $18 to $28 per lead. So it's 3,000 times $18.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I just
Or
use like
3,000
times
times
20.
28.
Like,
yeah.
it's actually exactly. I went down a little bit. I guarantee you, if you were trying to reach a B2B small business audience, you might as well be trying to reach a doctor. That's how expensive those emails are, right? And the work it takes to acquire that type of lead. And let me just be clear. That is the cost of that lead, whether you're doing advertising, whether you're doing content, what you are going to be spending time or money. You know,
Exactly.
I don't know what else to say about that. It's like,
and so your process was that you got the email addresses, you sent out the email with more information, you invited people to talk to you, a percentage of those people took you up on it, and you got all sorts of, just by talking to them, not trying to sell them anything, but asking them a bunch of questions, like I do here today, or with my various guests, ask a bunch of questions that gave you valuable information that enabled you to put together some offerings that people actually want to buy.
That people wanted to buy. And that doesn't mean that I'm not, and can we just be clear about something? This isn't just something you do once, right? So like the first thing I did is I'm offering these live sessions. That gives me an opportunity to be with people live. No, it's not a lot of people, but at the same time, I'm really learning about like the way I structure the sessions. I'm learning about like what it's like for them in their business, right? Where are they stuck? Where are they struggling? That helps me with content, right? So, and that helps me to make other offers. So, yeah, I keep coming back to the idea of spray and pray was just not worth my time and effort. If I'm going to invest time and, I thought to myself, if I have, let's say, 2 hours, I can invest that time creating some kind of content, like out of my head. Like, I don't know, do people want it? I mean, I could look at research, I could look at Google, I could look at a lot of things, but I have found that since having those conversations with people, I just have a much deeper, we all know what it's like. I have a much deeper sense of what's really going on with them.
Which is what you need to create an offer that people want to buy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think you've had that experience too, right? Where you are making one offer, and then like when you get on the phone and talk to them, you're like, oh, wow, they really like this other thing too.
Exactly.
Exactly. So, and you can sell things. You've had that experience where you might have called to sell one thing, but you sold something completely different.
And actually, most of the time, when I am prospecting, or I have business development people that are prospecting, or in the classes that we teach about prospecting, we don't start with the idea that I'm going to sell X, I'm going to sell this widget. We keep it pretty open because you never know what the person you're talking to actually wants until you talk to them.
Exactly. That is just exactly. And I'm sorry, no amount of Google analytics, no amount of as much data as we have. And to be honest, with the way the web is evolving, and privacy legislation that has gone through recently, you're not getting a lot of accurate data anymore. You're just not. You're not getting accurate open rates. You are getting accurate click rates, but you're not getting accurate open rates. So like, use those, know that. And that's why right now, what most marketing people are advocating are what they call either first party data or zero party data, which means that from the mouth of the customer, from the mouth of the prospect. That's why quizzes are popular. That's why phone calls are popular. That's why those types of things are now more important than ever, because you're just not getting that type of data like you used to years ago.
I love everything that you are talking about today, Ivana. And I know you have a gift for our listeners. You mentioned it just a minute ago. So will you share details about your gift?
Yeah, so I'm giving you access. I think it's called How to Do Less Marketing and Make More Money, but it's actually a DIY course that's 100% online where I take you through the marketing process. When I had those conversations with those people and I made a list of all the things that I heard. And then I sent them a little survey and said, okay, so these are all the things I heard. Which one do you want to know most about? Which one do you really want to fix in your business? And I was so proud of these guys because they picked marketing process. Marketing process, how do I say this? All of you guys, I know Wendy has, you've been an entrepreneur, you practice slot machine marketing. So if you're frustrated by marketing, you're overwhelmed, you tried a bunch of things and they don't work, this will take you through that process. And we talked about it already. We talked about research, ideal customer. We talked about creating an offer. We talked about implementing and choosing a strategy. So there's a little superpower quiz in there for all you people. So please, 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 I am begging you that if you want to become a better consumer and implementer and practitioner of marketing, this is definitely going to help.
Absolutely. Ivana knows her stuff. She is my go-to in all things marketing. And to access Ivana's gift as soon as you finish listening to this podcast, the link is in the show notes. So go to the show notes, click on the link. And where can people find you, Ivana? People want to connect with you.
What I'm hoping is that you guys have questions right now. So just email me, Ivana, you can see the name right there, Ivana at DIYmarketers.com. Ask me your question. You just heard about why it matters to me. No, I'm not going to try to sell you anything. I want to know your question. Definitely email me. Of course, you can go to DIYmarketers.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, of course. So DIY Marketers there. I'm everywhere. You can search for my name on Google. You'll see it.
And we will put Ivana's email address in the show notes as well. And so connect with Ivana. She is all things marketing. And thank you, all of you, for listening today to Salesology Conversations with Sales Leaders with my very special guest and very good friend, Ivana Taylor, publisher, DIYmarketers.com. And if you have found value in listening to today's podcast, then please think about one business owner, one entrepreneur, or somebody that you know that you think might also find value in listening to this podcast. And please do share the link with them. And until we meet again, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, really large bills.
You've been listening to Salesology, Conversations with Sales Leaders, the art of faster, easier, more profitable sales. Be sure to follow so that you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, please leave a rating and review and be sure to share it with your friends. Tune in every week for more exciting insights and wisdom on transforming sales. And until next time, visualize yourself surrounded by cash, very large bills.